Hey friends, welcome to the Strangers in Common podcast. I hope this finds you well, and if you're not well, it's okay. I'm always here for you. Much like on the other ones, I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone who has listened or followed or subscribed or anything at all with the podcast. Again, it is greatly appreciated. And I thoroughly enjoy seeing everyone hopefully enjoying it. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in and get to know somebody that you don't. And today we're going to get to know Jeremy. All right, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me on this. And, we will jump in feet first into the deep end on this and let everyone get to know you. No life preservers, no nothing. We're just going to sink or swim.
Sounds good.
So if you just want to tell people about yourself, however you want to start. You can start from a child. You can start, hey, I'm Jeremy and I got, 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You?
Yeah.
But people that knew me in kind of the past probably wouldn't, I guess expect me to be kind of where I'm at and what I'm doing now.
Well, why is that?
I don't know. I guess. I mean, in high school, I was the really defiant kind of person and tried to challenge a lot of things. And
yeah, that was a lot of us that did that.
I mean, I challenged everybody, I think.
You were one of the few, though, that actually graduated.
Well, after an extra year.
Well, yeah, but I mean, super senior, it just makes it sound more special.
Yeah, I mean, I did not like to go to class. I liked the social aspect of school, but I didn't like the repetitiveness of it.
Right.
I'd show up on Monday and figure out what we were learning for the week, and then I'd show up on Friday and pass the test. And I thought at the time that was a good way to do things, but it really wasn't.
I mean, it could be if they, there's some stuff about our education system that definitely could probably use some improvement, but.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that it's very much it's set in a way that is only meant to do kind of the middle. There's
right.
It's not a really good way to. How do you, I guess, deal with somebody like me who doesn't like the school aspect, likes the social aspect, but has enough intelligence to pass a test, right?
Right.
Versus, someone that may be asking a lot of why and needs a why before they move forward. And the why is, well, you have to do this.
So were you that way before high school also? Was it pretty much your whole school life that you were kind of defiant against it?
I think it really, when it really happened was junior high was where it really kind of budded. And again, that's, part of adolescence, right?
Right.
You're trying to figure out who you are as a person. And they, part of that is to defy authority.
Right.
and challenge it the best you can. And I remember I had to take summer school after 8th grade so that I could go into high school.
I don't know. I didn't have summer school till high school, so I was leaning that way, but not quite as early as you.
Well, I mean, I had a teacher in eighth grade that told me I'd be in jail by the time I was 16.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I ran
It's a
into him after I turned 16 and was like, fuck you.
right. You're like, I'm
not
not in jail. So were your parents understanding of you being defiant, or did they not really catch on to that?
I don't think they knew what to do with me is the thing. Because, they didn't, I just frustrated them to such an extent that they, I think, just basically went, we'll just let you do whatever you want to do. And focused on my younger brother.
Gotcha.
They're like, oh, well, the first one, I don't know if I think we may have screwed that one up. We'll see.
That was a test. It's okay.
Round two, we'll see if we do better.
Oh man. So do you feel that came from anywhere? Like, was there anything you felt that maybe pushed you towards that, or was it more just you picked up stuff so quick that you got bored with it?
I think it was. I mean, there was definitely a lot of things that kind of played into it. It wasn't like for most subjects and most things I didn't struggle with, being able to figure it out or know the answers.
Right.
The one thing that I was awful at is I don't know if you remember the timed math tests where you had to do like 100 problems in whatever, like 10 minutes or something like that.
Yep.
I could not do those. That was the one thing that just drove me up the wall.
Yeah, I was terrible at math, so I get it.
I hated math, but I could do algebra in my head.
Oh, well, you're better than me because, man,
so, I was really defiant and didn't like going to school. A cousin of mine got diagnosed with ADD, and my mom was like, that's it. That's what's wrong with Jeremy. He's got ADD. And I got sent to a psychologist to, go through that testing and whatnot. And
right.
One of the things I had to do was this really big kind of IQ test, and it was a multiple battery thing. And I scored ridiculously high on it. And where this becomes a problem is being a defiant teenager already. My psychologist basically told me that I was smarter than most of the adults I dealt with.
Oh, nice.
So it just kind of amplified my, F you, I know what I'm talking about. And,
right.
all teenagers, right? But now I'm like, I've got, a test that proves that I'm smarter than you.
So they never put you on medication or nothing like that, I'm assuming?
No. The psychologist was like, he doesn't have ADD. The only thing average about him is his short-term memory, so that makes him look like he may have ADD because he's so able to concentrate in other places or whatever.
Gotcha. So it was basically your lack of short-term memory that, not basically, but that's part of it that played into just the boredom with school.
Yeah, I mean, the boredom with school was. We of course went to a terrible high school. That didn't help at all.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I'd take classes that were meant to challenge me, and it ended up being worse. I took college prep biology at one point, and the teacher was also one of the football coaches.
Okay.
And what he'd do is he'd basically take attendance at the beginning of class, tell us all to read like 5 chapters, and then answer the questions at the end of the chapters. And then he'd take the football players into the back office, and they'd watch film.
Nice.
nice.
And it took me about a week to figure out what was going on. And I was like, okay, so I'd wait until he took attendance and then I'd leave.
You're like, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm done. This is reading a book and answering the questions, and it isn't helping me to learn anything.
Well, I think some of those books have the answers in the back, probably.
Well, if we'd had the technology the kids have now, they would have just whipped out the cell phone and looked up all the answers on Google.
Yep. Oh, what's this? All right. The test would already be on there too,
Exactly.
It's all just recycled. So, after you graduated, did you end up doing any further school?
So when I graduated, again, it's kind of that ego, right? And
right.
That I'm smarter than everybody mentality, and I just figured, in the real world, I wouldn't have to apply myself, and it would just come to me. Is kind of that mentality and thought process I had. And that's not how the real world works.
I was going to say, I don't think so, but we'll find out.
No, it's not how it works at all. I started working at Dish when I was 20, and well, prior to that, I was working internal security at Target.
Oh, nice.
Shoplifters.
Yeah, loss prevention.
Yeah. I looked like a thief.
Yeah. It's the best way to catch them.
Oh, exactly. People would steal in front of me, and then I'd just go out the door with them and be like,
right.
You need to come back inside. But, like a couple guys, like the Kmart down the street, somebody got stabbed trying to bust a shoplifter.
Right.
A couple guys at another Target almost got ran over because somebody was trying to take off with them with their car.
Oh, Lord.
And that sort of stuff. And what I was getting paid at the time, it was like, this isn't worth it. And I had a buddy working at Dish at the time. He's like, dude, you can make more money sitting in the call center talking on the phone. And I'm like, sold.
You're like, I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah. Well, it was more of like, man, why am I risking my life for, I think at the time it was like $8 an hour.
Oh yeah. It's not anything that's even worth it.
Yeah. So, started working at Dish. And I mean, Dish was good at the time because it paid for me to be a delinquent early 20s kid that went out and drank all the time.
Right.
It was a giant social arena. I made a ton of friends working there, and they all like to get drunk all weekend, same as I did.
You work in a call center, so that's kind of a given. You got to get that frustration out somewhere.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it was so easy. I was on the phones for about 6 months before I was there about 3 months, and they were already handing me all these escalated things because I could work through them.
Oh, wow.
And figure out how to fix them. And then they decided they were moving my department from the Thornton call center to the Littleton one.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you want to go? I was like, no, but I want to go work in this email department over there. Every time I wander over there to help them out, they seem to be screwing around. Or eating.
Nobody was sending emails. It was just like, I'll call. I don't want to send an email.
Yeah, So it was the email / kind of escalations group at the time. And my boss was like, okay. And she came back about half hour later and goes, you want to meet your new boss? So, because they were happy to have me because I'd helped them out with some other escalation stuff. So.
Oh, nice. And you worked for Dish for a long time.
18 years.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
So
Well, go ahead.
when you transitioned out of there, because you went to UC Health, right?
CU Medicine. So,
CU Medicine.
yeah. They
So
work with them.
was that a weird transition, leaving that company that you've known for 18 years?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it's all about that like comfort you have, right?
Right.
Dish was predictable for me at that time because I'd been there so long.
Right.
I'd been training for I think 12 years at that point. And I was a
So what
supervisor before that too. So
made you want to leave?
they started messing with my schedule. That was really, I mean, I'd been looking before that, but that was really the
Right.
push. I was going to school at the time. So I went back to school at 35.
Oh, nice.
6 months after I got married. And then we had our first daughter. And basically the schedules that they were giving me, I couldn't maintain a life. I was trying to be there for my wife, my daughter, and be able to do school. So at that
Right.
point, I honestly just went. One of the shifts they put me on was a split shift.
Oh.
And I'd work 4 hours, have 4 hours off, and then work 4 hours. Well, I was commuting from Aurora to Littleton for that.
Oh, that's terrible.
So that 4-hour gap, what I'd do is I'd go to the gym, eat lunch, and then I'd go to the library down the street and just log in and apply for jobs.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, because I mean, it was probably what, 30 to 45 minutes for your commute?
Exactly. So, I mean, if I drove there, I'd hang out at home for an hour and a half, and then have to drive back.
Yeah. Plus, you get no time with your family.
Mm-hmm.
So, how long? So, you got married and had your kids. So, how old was your kid when you left Dish?
Oh, she would have been a year and a half.
Okay, so you were missing quite a bit
Yeah.
of time with her.
Yeah.
Did that cause any problems, like, in your relationship or anything? Like, was your wife understanding?
No, she's always, I mean, and she's awesome. She's very supportive. And, of course, she was just as upset as I was, but she was mad at them, not me.
Right. Obviously. Yeah, it's not like you're choosing to stay 12 hours.
So, and it, when I got the interview and then the job offer, the funny thing is I didn't remember applying for it. Because I was applying for so many jobs. I had to go back and look up what I'd applied for.
You're like, sure, I guess.
You're who? Oh,
right.
What? You thought I was a good candidate? And I got interviewed, and it was a training position to start off with. Got interviewed, presented for, and because I'd had the training experience that I had, really impressed them with that. And then, they offered me the job, and that was Monday through Friday, every holiday off. A really big jump in salary, and
right.
fantastic benefits because I was in the healthcare industry.
Right.
So, it was, what was weird is kind of coming from a company that really doesn't care about their employees or doesn't show that they care about their employees to a company that did, was very almost like post-traumatic. Because I had habits that I had from, my previous time at Dish that I felt I had to do there, like constantly, explaining myself
Right.
and, or, apologizing for things that, I really shouldn't need to apologize for. And my boss was like, what are you doing?
No, I get that. I have the one where it's like, we need to talk, and I automatically think it's like, oh my God, what did I do? And they're
Yeah.
like, you didn't do nothing. Like, calm down. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I've never been called in an office for a good thing.
Yeah. So I think that, it was a really good place to go after, working at Dish. And then they, you know, and it's not like Dish it was the most terrible place on the planet or anything like that. Most of my friendships and, that I have currently started there, you know, so it was a really
Yeah.
great social place, just not the greatest place to work.
So, out of curiosity, because you, with school, you got bored and you wanted more of the social hour, do you feel the social aspect is a lot why you might have stayed for 18 years, even if it wasn't the greatest?
Uh,
Or was it
honestly,
just comfort, like you said?
it's comfort. It's a combination of comfort and lazy.
Yeah,
You know, Dish was good enough to pay for my life. You know,
right.
and then when I met my wife, I wanted to contribute more. I wanted because she does better off than I do. And it wasn't so it's not that like and a lot of people are like, so did you feel like there's competition? And it's like, no, I just felt like I should contribute more.
Right.
It's not that I'm gonna like catch up or surpass her or anything like that. It's more of, I don't want to be a bum anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's why I started school. And I do have to give credit to Dish. Dish paid for most of that
Oh, nice.
because they had tuition reimbursement. I was going to CSU Global, and they had a agreement with them that they defer your tuition. So I only had to come up with the percentage that Dish didn't pay after
Okay.
my classes were done. So
But part of that is you had to graduate, right? Like,
no, it was simply you just had to, basically have I think it was a B average. But what happened is but you had to be there. I don't remember how much time exactly after like your last reimbursement, or they would ask for it back. So when I left Dish, I did have to pay them back for part of that because I hadn't
oh,
finished my
okay.
degree.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, how did you meet your wife? Out of curiosity.
At Dish. So I met her at Dish.
So, were you guys in the same departments, or did you just happen to see her and be like, "Oh, hey, that's the one"?
We were not in the same departments. She was actually in human resources, so I was
Oh,
the special guy that decided that he should walk to the HR office and ask out the HR lady.
nice. Probably the one department you maybe shouldn't, but
Again, it goes back to like, I gotta defy the norm and
right. Well, yeah, that's a pretty good one.
you know,
So, so did
but
you guys
because
hit it off right away, or was it like,
yeah,
yeah, you're cute, but go back to work?
no, we did we hit it off right away, but and then
Nice.
she made the responsible decision that she was like, I see that this is moving forward. I need to find another job.
Gotcha.
So, she did. And then we didn't tell anybody either. So, because I knew the people that I worked with would, if something came up, would cover for me
Right.
100%. And I didn't want to put anybody else at risk. So,
I gotcha. Oh man. Yeah. That's funny. So now are you still with CU Medicine or did you move on from there?
I left in September.
Oh,
I am
okay.
now working for the state of Colorado.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So
And
so you were there during COVID and everything. Were you training during that time?
yeah.
And so I'm assuming it all switched to work at home.
So it had to be kind of, they didn't have a setup that would allow the group that I was supporting to go home right away. So they had to figure out how to do things in the office. And then I had to figure out, because I was basically like the trainer for that whole department, I had to figure out how to train in that kind of remote setting.
Right.
And then had to come up with other things like how do you basically kind of like train somebody to take phone calls in a remote like version.
Right.
So, how does somebody listen to another person taking phone calls and be able to see their screens? And then how does that person then transition to being the one taking the calls and that other person being able to see their screens? So I had to come up with how all of that worked.
Oh, wow.
And, honestly, like my time at Dish and the technical knowledge I learned from that, because, I was, when I was a master tech trainer
Right.
and assembled racks and stuff like that when I was bored. I came up with a system using like speakers and microphones that would work in the office, but they were all in separate offices, so they couldn't be interacting with each other.
Right.
So you might have somebody that was they were in the same office, but they were in a floor away from each other in two different, actual like offices with the doors closed.
Oh, okay.
Mirroring phone calls.
Man, that's smart.
And still having the like customer like, well, the first time I showed IT what I did, they weren't very happy with me.
Yeah, but it worked. I mean, they'll get over it.
Well, yeah, then it worked, and then they were like, okay, we're going to have to continue this. So then when they did because that department did transition to home finally, they had to basically use the same setup but at their houses. So they needed to know what equipment to buy.
Oh, they're like, thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it. So how old are your kids now?
My oldest just turned 7, and my youngest is 4.
So how is that becoming a father? Because, well, how is that becoming a father when you're a little bit older? Because I was a father young, so we're in two different paths. Because your kids are starting school and my kids are graduating.
Well, exactly. I mean, like that's the thing with social media, right? I'm watching all my friends like posting about their kids like graduating high school, starting college,
right,
learning to drive, and I'm like, my 4-year-old graduated pre-K. And this topic comes up actually kind of somewhat often because a lot of people do, because you're talking to your friends. One of my closest friends, his daughter just graduated high school. His youngest daughter just graduated high school. So
right.
Now his kids are all out of the house, and I'm a couple of years older than he is.
Right.
So what I say is it's the benefit of being young and having kids is that you have energy. And, the benefit of waiting until you're older is I was more financially stable. And, I think I have a small degree of more patience than I would have when I was younger.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably. I would agree with that. So
I mean, there's benefits. There's benefits to both, right? If my
man, I don't
kids
know if
decide
I
to
don't know if I had more energy. I'll tell you that.
really,
Yeah, I mean, man, they wore me out, dude.
yeah.
I'm telling you, I felt like I was 60 when I was in my 20s. So it's
Well,
it's
I
like, yeah,
mean,
let's go do this. Okay, all right.
I mean, at one point, I mean, I felt, I had I had both my girls before I graduated school.
Right.
So I was working full time, going to school, and had two little girls.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, when school was done, I was like, can I just take like a break from everything? And life doesn't work that way. So
No, not at all. And I'll be honest with you, like, we thought, oh, it's going to be easier when they're older. Nah, it's not. They could just back talk more and be more expensive.
Well, yeah, and then they just transition to different things, right?
Yep.
You go from like chasing them around the house to to keep them out of things to chasing them on the soccer field or
right. So have you struggled with anything being a parent? Not necessarily not even just age, just anything in general with girls. I mean, or anything of that nature.
Well, I try to make it in a perspective that it's for me it's learning,
right?
Because I grew up with a younger brother, so having two little girls is a completely different mindset, a completely different experience.
Yeah.
So there's definitely things that I'm learning from them, and I'm hoping that I'm teaching them to be well balanced. But as a what do I struggle with as a parent most is that they have too much of me in them.
Yeah, that may not be a good thing.
I mean, my wife reminds me of this on when I'm like super frustrated with one of them or something that they pulled, and she's like, that would be something you probably would have done, or
and you're like, nope.
And, well, no. Then I'm like, that's why it's so frustrating.
Right. So, how would you, if they kind of took the same path you did with school, do you feel you're better equipped to deal with that since you were in that situation?
Yeah, I'd be much more involved.
Yeah.
That I think is going to be, and my wife too. I mean, we've already talked about it. It's, they're going to get only so much from school.
Right.
The rest of it comes from us, and we really need to make sure that we're involved. Is the way I want to go, and the other part of it is being honest.
Yeah.
Just when somebody tells you shouldn't do something, it's, well, let me tell you why. And I've had this experience, and this is what happened when I did that.
Right. So I'm curious because, like, I don't want to get too much into the topic of it, but obviously I've had kids through school the years, not little ones now, but with the shit that's going on in the schools, I mean, honestly, for the last decade, with the violence, does that give you pause to send them and do something like homeschool? I know that's not an easy one because I've struggled with it too. And like I said, my kids were in high school. You know, my oldest is a senior next year. So, but it's like it's one of those things where it's like, man, is it something where I just keep them home, but then they don't get certain aspects like the socialization and stuff like that.
And that's, I think that's I mean, there's a couple things that, I look at it from there is, both my wife and I work full time.
Right.
One of us would have to stop. Like you said, the social aspect as well. Because I've worked with a couple guys that were like homeschooled.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the position I was in, and just the observations I had, like the second or third guy that I dealt with that was homeschooled, I looked at him one day. I was like, "You were homeschooled, weren't you?" He's like, "How could you tell?"
Because your social skills just don't exist.
Well, it was a mixture of social skills or lack thereof, and this also, like, I'm smarter than you because my mommy taught me better than the school would. And it was like, well, you're still working at the same place I am,
Right.
and you're at a lower level than I am. Does that really equate? And that goes back to, yeah, I scored really high on an IQ test, but I wasn't very smart afterwards.
Right. Right.
I took the, and did a lot of dumb things afterwards. So
no, I know some of them, but we'll just leave them. We'll leave them where they lie.
I mean, I think most of them are past the, prosecutable point, but we don't need to, tarnish my reputation that much.
Right.
The people that know me already know.
Right. So, do you guys plan on having any more, or is 2 where you're done?
No. It's a goal was that we wanted to. That was the plan, and we wanted to make sure that, my whole goal was to have the second one before I turned 40, and that happened by 3 weeks.
Hey, at least it happened, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. They're both healthy and wild and fun for most of the time. And then, other times, of course, just like any parent's going to say, there's like, I think it's time for you to go to bed.
Right. Yep. Shouldn't you be somewhere else anywhere but right here? A bath, something, anything?
Yeah. But I mean, going back to what you were asking, I don't think where we're at now, I don't think that there is as big a worry about violence happening here in the schools.
Gotcha.
But it's constantly a threat. I mean, that's something that until there are sweeping changes made,
right,
which will not happen, I don't think, in our lifetime.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But you never know. But
yeah,
I agree.
But yeah, so I don't think I want them to have, the best opportunities, and I don't think I could do that teaching at home.
Right. No, I definitely understand that. So, as we wrap this up, is there any advice that you would give to anybody that's maybe kind of like you, that's kind of defiant and just wants to do their own thing and feels like, I'm just going to do it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Be defiant, but, also check yourself,
Okay.
and I mean, if it's one thing to be, somebody to say you're smart on a test, but it's completely another to be able to, utilize that intelligence for other things.
Right.
You're never done learning. And there's always a way to improve. So, just because you think you've got the best idea or the best way to do things now, there's a way to make it better and a way to do it better.
Nice. Yeah, and I feel that way too. Like I seriously learn every person I talk to, you included. I learn something from each of them, and it could be something simple. It could be a change in perspective, any of it. So I definitely understand always continuing to learn on that.
Yeah. And, don't, I don't know, get out of where, your comfort zone is. I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things for people, because change is very difficult. But
Well, with that, real quick, do you feel better since you got out of that kind of lazy comfort zone?
yeah, I
Yeah.
am. I am all about trying something new. I mean,
Nice.
that's kind of like before we started tonight. You were like, "Do you want to jump in feet first?" Yeah, might as well do it. Why?
Right.
Why dwell on it? Let's just do this. This is a new
Nope.
experience. This is
And
something
that's
different.
yeah, and that's exactly what I did with this. I talked to my wife for a couple years on this, and I was like, well, I don't have this. Well, I don't have this, and finally one day I was like, you know what? I got my phone. I'm just gonna record one and put it out, like, because if I don't, I'm never gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, look, see, we're at like 42 minutes recording. So,
And if anybody listens to this as for this length of time,
they will.
I'm not sure if if I should apologize.
Nah, trust me. They've listened to me talk for an hour, so you're good.
I hope I was at least entertaining for this.
No, it was great. Like I promised, it was good. But we'll go ahead and end it. I appreciate you recording with me, and we will talk to you later.
Yeah, it was fun. We'll have to catch up. We'll do lunch or something at some point.
Absolutely.
All right, and that concludes this episode. So thank you all again for joining me. Remember to follow me on the socials, Sticko Podcast. Like and subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast, Spotify, Apple, whatever it may be. Definitely know it's not Stitcher since that one is closing down. But if you need to get a hold of me, send me an email, stickopodcast@gmail.com. If you want to be on the show, if you know anybody that wants to be on the show, definitely send them my way. Send me a message, whatever, shoot me an email, whatever it may be. I'm always looking for people to talk with that want to share their stories. So, any help with that would be great. So, until next time, be safe. Don't be a stranger.